Welcome to ZANTASTIC. This is Kathy Zant. This is the podcast where we talk about what makes you fantastic. And I want to show you something. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. It is my book, Stroke of the Genius. Just got a huge package of them so that I can sign them and send them out to some of the people who have influenced me over the past few years. The book started out as a discussion of what it was like to be a caregiver and the lessons that I was getting. But as I started finishing those chapters, I realized that there was a big missing part of the book. Why would I do all of this for this man, Mark Ryan, my husband? What makes him so important to me? So I actually went back and found all of my journals. I journaled prolifically, live journal for those of my friends who were there and experienced all of it with me. I journaled prolifically at about the same time that I met Mark. So I had days and days, and probably I estimated close to 1,000,000 words that I wrote about the first few years of my relationship with Mark, and also everything that led up to it, and preparing myself to meet this man. It was very, very interesting to go through and reread all of that. It was almost like an immersion in my past, and it was almost like reliving the entire relationship. And I realized that it was critically important for me to include that as a part of this book. And from that experience of reading all of those stories, I got the name of the book. It's Stroke of the Genius, Mark's Genius. It is what drew me to him, his spiritual genius, his heart, his ability to help people fundamentally change themselves. And I talk a little bit about what I saw in some of those early sessions with him in changing people. He had a level of genius I had never seen before, but through being a caregiver to him, he actually drew that genius out of me. And as I look back over our entire relationship, he was trying to do that from the very start. He actually did change who I was at the time, and has changed a lot of who I am up until this point, and he's still doing it. So Stroke of the Genius is not just about his genius, it's about the genius he brought out in me. And I realized as I was writing this book, as it was basically pouring out of me, I cried for 3 weeks straight as I was writing many of these chapters, as I was reliving the entire experience and also seeing the entire experience from a very different perspective, because I'm different. I mean, our past is very fluid. We have these memories. We may have written down a lot of them, but every time we remember all of those experiences, we are recreating them, because in actuality, there is only the present moment. Everything that's happening in the future is not something that you can determine. It is all very fluid. And the things that happened in the past are happening right now, and they can change. You can change. And as you change, your memories of the past change as well. You've probably had this experience where you have a favorite book and you go back and reread that favorite book, and it's almost like you notice that there's new things in the book. They were there before, but they weren't for you then. They're for you now. You've changed. And when you have that kind of experience, when you can look at your past experiences and see them as fluid, as changeable, when you notice that there are different things that happened that maybe you don't remember in exactly the same way you wrote down, it changes everything. You have a completely different perspective. It's actually a very healing experience to go reread some of those old things. But the main point I wanted to get through in this book, the whole reason that I wrote it, was that I wanted everyone to realize that there is power in the hard things that happen to us in life. There are gifts for us in the struggles. When things are scary, when you're soaking in a bunch of uncertainty and you're just grasping for some kind of certainty to solve a problem, the more you can be comfortable with the uncertainty in your life, the more you're going to find power within yourself. There's so little that we really fully understand about who we are. Most of the time in your conscious mind, you're spending your time in brainwaves that they categorize as beta brainwaves, right? And when you're in high beta, you're tending to be more stressed, more worried about the future, might catastrophize about things that possibly could happen, more fear state. Lower beta, you're just very focused. Maybe you're doing accounting, but there are so many other brainwaves that are available to us. There's the alpha state. The alpha state actually offers us sort of a bridge between our unconscious and our conscious minds. And we spend so little time fully understanding what's there. How much time do you spend really understanding what's going on in your dreams, the things that happen in your delta state? Or how much time do you spend looking at what's happening in your unconscious and your theta state? You see, we spend so much time in beta, but we've got alpha, we've got theta, we've got delta. The entirety of human knowledge is on the internet, and we go searching for things out there when we don't realize what knowledge, what capabilities, what insights actually exist within us. The great thing is that neuroscience is showing us all of this. It's showing us the correlation between what happens electrically in our bodies, in our minds, and what is happening with our thoughts and the states that we are in. Now, the most flexible part of any system is the most powerful, but so many of us are locked into just one way of being, one way of thinking, one state of being. And when we're doing that, we limit ourselves. We limit our personal power. We limit the ability to change and to really understand who we are. Now, you might have desires. You might have things that you want. Maybe you want to manifest $10 million, or maybe you want to get a promotion at work. Maybe you want to move to a different place. There are these external things that you want. But there's one thing that you can tell about everything that you want. You're not really looking for the external thing. You're looking for the feeling that that thing is going to give you. But that too is just imagined. It's what you think it's going to give you. You think you want $10 million in the bank, but do you realize how much accounting that requires? Maybe lean into that a little bit when you're trying to manifest more money. The thing is, we can have all of those external things, but we have to realize that they are symptoms of who we are. Your external experience right now, good, bad, ugly, wonderful, beautiful, everything that's happening in your life right now is simply a reflection of you. Your experience is 100% subjective. Your experience is based on data that you interpret through your senses, through what you see, through what you feel in your body, through what you hear. You have all of this sensory data coming at you, and you have to interpret it. You also have thoughts going through your mind, and you have to interpret those too. But you have thousands of thoughts every day. How do you decide which ones you're going to pay attention to? Well, there's something in your mind called the reticular activating system, or RAS, and that determines what you're going to pay attention to. And typically, our default is to just go with what we know, go with what we recognize, go with what is familiar. Now, you've heard the whole adage of how you buy a certain car. Let's say you buy something really cool. You buy like a really fancy Porsche, something that you just love. And all of a sudden, you start noticing Porsches everywhere. Let's say you just want a Porsche. And so you start researching them. And then all of a sudden, you start noticing all of the Porsches. You don't pay attention to the Hondas or the Nissans, do you? Or even the Toyotas. They're all around too. But you notice what you have paid attention to. That's your reticular activating system. It is what your mind does. You are under the onslaught of so much data coming at you from your thoughts, from what you see, from what you see when you close your eyes, from what you hear, from what you feel. And yet we have this system within us that filters out everything else and only pays attention to what is important. Now, it's there to protect us, of course. If you paid attention to every single little thing, your mind would become overpowered. It would not be able to discern what's important. But you decide what's important. And if you're just in the default mode, you make decisions based on your past. How flexible is that? How much power is there in just doing the same thing you've done? The patterns that you inherited from your mom, your dad, your society, your school, your peers. If you only pay attention to what other people say is important, you're missing out on your core self, on who you are, of what's important to you at your core. So many times we wake up in the morning and we pick up our phone and we automatically go into that beta brainwave pattern and start paying attention to whatever's showing up there. We pay so little attention to the dream we had the night before or those unconscious niggling thoughts that might be encouraging you to do something a little different. If you don't decide to change, you're just going to get more of the same. And what's that going to look like? It's probably going to look like more of the same. It's going to be based on your patterns. It's going to be based on your beliefs. It's going to be based on your emotions. It's going to be based on who you used to be. But if you go into deeper parts of yourself, if you connect with your heart and you find coherence between what is going on in your heart, and science has proven that there is knowledge in our hearts. It's probably knowledge in your little finger too. But your heart, without it, you cease to exist. Your heart and your mind, when they are in coherence, when they are vibrating at the same frequency, when they are together, it opens up a place of presence. And in the book, I talk about this, about how that place of presence actually made everything in my life, my very challenging life, the life that nobody else would want to live, made my life easier. I started seeing power in the hard stuff that was difficult, the stuff that was breaking me at the very beginning, right after you had the stroke. That hard stuff becomes easier when I am present, when I allow the experience to work on me. I changed. And as I learned this through being a caregiver, started applying this to other areas of my life, because it's not just Mark that's hard. It's a teenager. It's a house I have to take care of. It's work. It's lots of things. I have challenges just like you do, but they become easier the more present I am, the more I start to really understand that the challenges are there as a reflection of me, of my strength, of my ability to do so much more than I ever thought I could. The more I understand all of that, the more I move through all of that, the more I become more powerful. When the focus is on me, on the impulses within myself, not my thoughts, not my emotions, but on who I am, all things are possible. Dealing with hard things becomes possible. Moving forward and doing the things that I want to do, that I want to create, becomes easier because it's coming from within me. The more I understand myself, the more my external world starts to reflect back to me opportunities, miracles, things I never thought could happen. But it comes from within. It comes when I allow. It's one of the reasons why the Ho'oponopono process is so powerful, is because it clears away data and gets you to the core of who you really are, gets you to those places within you where all is possible. You stop telling yourself stories, right? How many stories do you have about all of the things happening in your life? well, this happened to my mom, and so I feel like I'm just repeating this pattern because it happened to my mom. We tell ourselves all sorts of things. Well, Bob went through this very difficult problem and it's showing up in my life, so it's probably going to play out the same way it played out for Bob. We start thinking thoughts like that. And the more you think those thoughts, the more they become a belief. A belief, the core operating system underneath it all, our beliefs are actually just repeated thoughts, habituated thoughts. You keep doing it. Imagine a field. If you have a field that you've ever seen and you want to get to the other side of the field, well, what do? There's no road through that field, but you want to get to the other side and there's no other way to get there. So you drive straight down the field, the fastest way from point A to point B. And the more you drive down that field, the more you go right down the center or wherever it is from point A to point B. The more you do it, the more it becomes a road. And then it becomes the way across the field. Now, what if you chose different way every single time? There would be no habituated pattern. There would be no road down the center of that field. There would just be the field. There would be infinite possibilities. But we are creatures of habit, aren't we? And we have that reticular activating system that says, this is the way. We make a decision about what's important, getting there quickly. Your beliefs are just kind of like programs that are running on top of you, right? Your beliefs are not you. Your thoughts are not you. Your emotions are not you. But our language convinces us and almost hypnotizes us into believing that we are. I am angry. No, you're not. Anger is just showing up. It goes away. You're not angry all the time. Well, people might say, well, he's an angry person, something like that, because all they see is that person being angry all the time. But that is just a pattern underneath it all. You know who you are. Underneath the thoughts that you think, you know who you are. At the core of your being, you are so much more than you have allowed yourself to be. We all do it. We all fall into habits. We fall into patterns. We all follow thoughts and beliefs. They become unconscious almost. These things that just kind of run in the background. They become assumptions that we make about what our reality is and who we are in our reality. And then we convince ourselves that we can't, or that it's too hard, or I could go through all of this work of doing this one thing and then it might go nowhere. So we don't take any risks. We don't try. We stop ourselves before we even get to the starting line because we don't have that flexibility in our thinking. If you need help with flexibility in your thinking, if you need clarity, if you need to find different paths across the field, if you just want to find a different field altogether, that's completely possible. It just requires changing your thinking, changing what you see, what you notice, changing how you notice, and then everything else starts to shift. There are plenty of processes in neurolinguistic programming that help people do this, and I am now a certified NLP practitioner. I can help you do this. It happens very, very quickly. So I am offering sessions now if that is something that is of interest to you. I've done quite a few like free sessions as I was going through the certification process, had to practice a lot. I mean, I lived with a man who was a master trainer in neurolinguistic programming, a master hypnotist. He understood how the mind worked. And even still, sometimes he would fall into his own patterns. It happens to all of us, and we're all here to help each other see things in a new way so that we notice different things, so our life experience changes, so that our beliefs change and our thoughts and our emotions change. It's all possible. And I think I'm pretty good at it. I've had these sessions and see some patterns showing up of people who need certain things that I've already been through. Maybe all of this hard stuff is happening because I need to know what hard stuff feels like so that I can guide people out of it and guide them to a place where they start to feel more empowered, more present, more in a place where they have choice. You can choose to think differently about a situation at any moment, but when you're soaking in it and it's all you know, it can be very hard. So these coaching sessions are there to help you shift your perspective and not just shift it in sort of that high beta state of what you think, but addressing the unconscious patterns that are there underneath it all. It's not hard, it just requires attention and a guide who has seen it and done it many times before. So I'm here for you if you need that. If you want to pick up Stroke of the Genius, it is available on Amazon. You can also buy it from my website if you want to buy it directly from me. And it's on Smashwords, and it will be in major retailers everywhere very soon. But right now, if you want the paperback, that's the easiest place is on Amazon. And you can get the Kindle, you can get the digital editions directly from me as well. I would appreciate it if you did, because it supports me in the work that I do. But there's so much more in it for you. There are lessons, there are insights. And I've had people write to me saying that they couldn't put it down. They finished it in an afternoon. It's not a super long book. Get right to the point. But hopefully I get to the point in an entertaining way. The fact that people can't put it down, I think that's a good thing. I will take that to heart. So anyway, thanks for being here on ZANTASTIC. I am hopefully, now that the book's out, I couldn't podcast. I could barely write a blog post. I couldn't do anything because this book was just pouring out of me. As soon as the dam broke, it just started pouring out of me, and I just had to flow with what was there, because it was there, right? I had gotten the blocks out of the creativity. I started trying to write it last year, and I got the first 3 sentences, and I was like, this is the book. Okay. And I'd start writing, and it'd be like, I hate this. So I got my creativity blocks out of the way. And actually, it's so interesting. I've had 3 coaching clients come to me, and they thought they were coming to me because it's like, well, I have to find a job. But actually, Spirit was actually asking them to work on their creative projects. And the more you work on your creative projects, the more you create other things, right? Because everything outside of you is a reflection of you. So if you are blocked in your career, what creative project is waiting for you? And so I just encourage them to get into their creativity and get those creativity blocks out of the way so that everything else can flow. Because if you're not focusing where your spirit would like you to focus as a creator, and we all are creators, you weren't born on this earth to go get a job and pay bills. You weren't born on this earth to do a lot of things that we think we should or have to do. You were born to be a creator. You were born to take those creative gifts and give them to the world. That is who we all are at our core. So if you need help unblocking creativity, I'm your girl. I've kind of figured it out. Now I got to keep it flowing. And part of that is to show back up to ZANTASTIC. So I will be here again next week. And I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.